So you and your friends start your calisthenics journey. After some time you decide to learn the most iconic feat of strength, the planche. You are very motivated and both of you seem to do everything right. You diligently follow a well-structured training program and care about your recovery through good nutrition and sleep. Unfortunately, after some time you guys lost touch, but not the determination. 1 year later you're sitting at home like nothing, when suddenly you remind yourself about your friend. So you start wondering, how is he doing? You go and you check out his Instagram and you see this. Or even worse, this. You start asking yourself, what were you doing wrong? You blame your consistency, your diet, everything around you. He must have started supplementing with some magic powder, you think. Well, what if I told you that it's probably not the case and there is a much better reason for his training success? There are literally dozens of factors that determine our performance in bodyweight training. You may have already heard terms like relative strength, pound for pound strength or absolute strength. Absolute strength is basically a force that we can generate without any consideration of body weight. In absolute strength, the more you can lift, the better. That's why it favors athletes of bigger size. Naturally, in bodyweight and calisthenics world, our interest is in increasing that relative strength. So if a guy, for instance, can pull 60 kilos vertically while weighing 70 kilos, that means that he will probably not be able to perform a pull-up. The way this man can learn how to pull up is either by losing 10 kilos of his own body weight or increasing his specific strength 10 kilograms. In both of these situations, his relative strength will increase, the same. On an interesting side note, in powerlifting, so the sport where you're being judged based on your performance in 3 main lifts, if you look at relative strength charts for this sport, you will conclude that the relative strength term stands for something different than just pound for pound relation that I've just described. And the reason for that is this particular form of measurement favors certain people, especially shorter ones, and it all comes down to leverages. The truth is, in bodyweight training, there are many more things that predispose us or disfavor us. To explain it better and let you visualize, I'm going to use the mentioned already planche as an example. So I don't want to get too much into physics here because I'm not considering myself an expert, but the basic principle of holding horizontally positioned body in space on your hands is applying force equivalent to the body's weight with hands placed directly under the center of mass, which does require leaning forward on your hands. The farther you have to lean, the harder the planche becomes due to the worse leverage. That's why the tuck planche is gonna be easier than straddle, and straddle is gonna be easier than full. We progressively make our body longer and move our center of mass towards the feet. How far you're gonna have to lean is determined by your body's build. In anatomical position, the center of gravity lies approximately near the top of the hip bones. Let's see what's gonna happen if a person's center of mass gonna move towards the head. As you can see, the required lean becomes smaller, which naturally works the other way around. What that tells us basically is that the shorter your torso is, the easier it's gonna be to planche. So we know already that shorter torso means easier planche. But what about legs? Now, lower bodies seem to play a big role as well. Naturally, if someone's legs are longer and heavier, that's gonna move their center of gravity towards the feet, which, as we know already, is gonna make planche harder due to bigger lean required. Okay, so we already know that the shorter your torso is and the lower percentage of your body weight are legs, the easier it's gonna be for you to planche. But what about arms? Well, intuitively, most of us would say that the longer your arm is, the harder it's gonna be for you to planche. And while longer arms might definitely make things like pull-ups harder, in the planche, that seems not to be the case. Yes, the longer the lever arm is, the more force has to be put to move weight attached to the end of an arm due to the worse leverage. However, look what happens when person's arms getting longer. The required lean is getting smaller, which makes better leverage. So it seems that because of those two countering things, the arm length is not gonna play as big of a role and is not gonna make as big of a difference. So in this specific case, we cannot really classify longer arms to be neither an advantage nor disadvantage. As you can see on this example, and by the way it applies also to other skills of this type like front lever, lots of factors that we don't really have influence on determine if it's gonna be easier for us to hold those positions. And if you combine them with consistency and work ethic, you get beasts like these guys. Should that discourage you from working on those advanced calisthenics skills? Of course not. I say use that as a motivation that despite having not perfect conditions, you're still able to put in work and get awesome results. These kinds of stories are much more applicable and much more inspiring and motivating for other people. The purpose of this video is to show you that we do differ and that we do have different conditions. And while watching other people for motivation is absolutely fine, being too serious with comparing yourself with them might put you in a wrong mindset, that you're doing something wrong and your progress is slow. What you should do instead is trust the process and ask yourself, am I improving over the weeks, months, years? What is your stance on that? Did you fall into a trap of being skeptical about your own progress due to the social media and other people's influence? If you did, then share your story. Alright, so that's everything I had to say on this topic. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have ideas for next ones, then leave your suggestions in the comment section. Alright, see you all next time.